Welcome everyone to another Tips and Tricks. We're excited to present today's topic to you on user adoption. So a topic that's relevant to everyone on the call. Joining me today are my fellow Tips and Tricks team. And Mariska, if I could just go ahead and show our pictures on that next slide there. Joining me today are my fellow Tips and Tricks team, Dawn Charnan, Fred Foster, Mariska Menon, and Carla sends her love and regards. We promise she will be back next month. We know she's missed. And we'll get on to today's agenda. Get right into it. So February's topic is all about user adoption, making your users fall in love with the system. We're going to dive into the adoption portal, custom landing pages, list views, and also provide some troubleshooting tips because we all know that quick turnaround on reported issues is so critical to your user adoption. And speaking of critical, I'm going to go ahead and send it over to Fred. He's going to tell us why user adoption is so important.
Thank you, Ely. Yes, user adoption is extremely important. In fact, effective user adoption can affect the success of your enterprise by almost 70%. So that's a huge percentage of positive effects that you can have. And what are some of the advantages of having high user adoption? Primarily, you get a return on investment. You paid for a lot for the software, you want to get your money back. So having a high user adoption helps you see that return on investment. It improves your productivity, and you have happy employees. How can you achieve this success? Primarily by tracking and monitoring the adoption. And by tracking and monitoring, it gives you the opportunity to perform corrective actions and engage with your users. Now, ProcessMap has a very extensive adoption portal, which I'll show you live in a few minutes. But this slide goes over some of the items that we track. Next slide, please. And for each module that your enterprise subscribes to, we will track different metrics for each of those. I'll show you those live in a minute. Now, accessing the adoption portal. The slide that I have on here right now is from our help site. And I wanted to point that out because we have a very extensive help site that will go into a lot of details with you on what you're seeing in the adoption portal. The link to the help site is right there, and the link to the help site is also right by your link to the adoption portal. So where do you find that information to access the portal? Primarily, if you go into your broadcast events on your homepage, you should see a link that will take you to the user adoption portal. And when you go ahead and click on that link, there'll be a little more information provided. Here you have the link to actually get into the adoption portal, as well as the username and password for that. And as I mentioned before, there's also a link that will take you to our help site should you have any questions on the adoption portal. Now, what if you don't see anything in your broadcast events? A lot of times the widget that you're seeing on your home screen might only show broadcast events for the past year. And when we sent out the information for login, it was more than a year ago. So you might need to go and look at your broadcasts in System Setup. So you go to Setup, System Setup, Broadcasts, and when you go in there, you'll see any of the broadcasts that have been set up, including the information for the adoption portal. So you can go in there and do the clicking. And once you click, you will be taken to a login screen where you will enter your username and password and then go into the portal. And I am going to share my screen right now so you can all see a live portal. So here we are in the adoption portal. And when you first log in, it's going to first go to a tab that says traffic on it. And the traffic page or the landing page will have some primary information. First of all, your enterprise name, and you also have dates. These are drop downs, so you can select dates that you want to report on. And as I said, the first page is really traffic. So this is really going into logins, and we break that down web versus mobile. Now, in this instance, they're really is very little use of mobile. So this is telling us that this enterprise has opportunity for growth in mobile. But we also see some stats. We see average number of employees per location, unique logins, total login counts. And here we have some graphs that will show web versus mobile. One of the things that we can see month to month is that we have pretty consistent numbers across the board with the activity on the system. So while we always want to achieve high user adoption, consistency is also a positive. Here we can see the actual times that people are logging in. So you can see that most of the activity is happening in the morning and into the midday, and then it peters off a little bit in the afternoon and going into the evening. So that's the basic traffic. Now, across the top, you will see tabs for all the different modules that you have. So if we were to go and click on Audit Management, here are statistics having to do with audits. Right here, we can see that there was over 100% increase in the number of audit programs from 2020 versus 2019, which is great. I mean, more than doubling. We can see here that there was a slight reduction in the number of findings, but here we had an increase in the number of CAPAs. We can also see that we had a kind of a strong beginning, and then if you look in March, numbers started dropping. That's really not too surprising because that's when COVID started. So after things kind of got back to business again, you can see the increases. And here we have both findings and CAPAs, and you can see consistency month to month on that. And then finally here, we have some raw numbers about audits, and you have an opportunity to click right on here, and it will download a report for you. Now moving over to incident management. Right here in this chart, we can see that about 3/4 of the incidents that were created were near misses, and then about 25% of the other incident types, mostly with general liability. We have some numbers, stats up here. So we can see we had a 91% increase in the number of near misses from the previous year. We went over 200% in environmental incidents, over 100% in injury illness, and 150 in property damage, which are some good numbers. When we look here, number of near misses, again, you see a little bit of a dip in the springtime, and then things kind of came back strong over the summer and were fairly consistent the rest of the year. I do want to point out, when you're looking at the different widgets, similar to the widgets that you have on your homepage, you can change stats in here. So right now it's showing number of near misses. I can look at other incident types. And I also have an opportunity to look at different time periods, yearly or quarterly. And then when we look at a few more things right here, this is a listing of sites, the number of near misses created. And we can see that one site really blew away the other ones with the number of near misses that they created. So that's great to see. And again, we have the raw numbers in a chart that you can easily download. Continuing on to the next module, calendar and task management. What we can see on here is that there was a large increase in the number of calendar events, 171% over the previous year. And in particular, in task management events went up almost 600%. Here we can see month to month, the number of tasks are created. And if you look in December, we had a huge increase in December. And that's not uncommon, because as you start prepping for the following year, you might take December to start preparing all your tasks for the coming year. So we see that commonly in December. Right here, we can see that about 3/4 of the tasks were created from calendar events that would be coming from audits, incident management, and app builder, and about almost 1/4 are coming from tasks themselves. And finally, if we were to look at the learning management tab here, we have some numbers, and we can see that there were less courses that were created this year versus last year. And that's not uncommon when you're setting up the system. You might create a lot of courses in the beginning, and then assign them out over the years. So there's not necessarily a lot of creation going on. Again, we have the chart that you can download. So you have some raw numbers here. You can look right here. This is number of courses created by site. And you can see that we've got a lot of consistency going on from site to site with the number of courses that they're creating. Training plans here, a little bit erratic. We had a lot that were set up in May and September, you know, setting yourself up for following quarters. So you might set them up once a quarter, and then you won't set them up for the following month. So those are some of the information that you can see here on the adoption portal. So I really encourage everyone to go into your system, go to the broadcast events, click the links, access your adoption portal, and see what's going on in your enterprise. If for some reason you do not see the link to your adoption portal or can't find the username and password, just get in touch with your CSM and we can get that data for you. And with that, I'm going to hand this back to Ileana.
Thanks, Fred. Now, I'm very excited to talk to you all about list view screens because this is one of my favorite simple functionalities that provide a lot of impact and value add when it comes to your user adoption. Across all of our modules, Process Map has taken the work out of having to search or filter endlessly. So we provide you a plethora of options in the form of what some of us refer to as out-of-the-box list views because they come with your system and they're ready to go. What a better way to get your users to love the system than already having their needed information right there when they get to their frequented screens. Users can easily set any of these system views as their default. So whenever they navigate to the respective list screen, the data they need is already populated. No searching, no filtering. So as examples, here's what this could mean by just a few modules. Maybe you're part of the transportation team and you only need to see vehicle-related incidents. Maybe you're an auditor and you only need to see audits for which you're part of the audit team. Maybe you want to be able to navigate quickly to assessments pending your approval. Or maybe you're a CIH, I see some of my IH customers on the line, and you want a list to always default to samples pending approval. Well, the great news is that these are all ready to use system list views that can easily be defaulted. And if you need a little refresher on how to default a list view, I can quickly refresh your memory. So once you click the list view you want, I chose my audit, you can click the edit button that I've indicated there by a heart in the first screenshot, and you'll be navigated over to the manage view screen. At this time, you are able to make additional changes that you'd like to the list view, but we'll get into that next. For now, we want to use the list view as is. So I just select Save As. Now I need to name my view, and I went ahead with Ileana's view, and then I clicked Save. Now, whenever I navigate to the audits list view, I will have a filtered view, and only the audits for which I am a part of the auditor team will populate. Something as simple as this can make work so much easier so that you don't have to search for the data that pertains to your task. But you don't have to settle for the system list views as is. There is more. So now that you know a little bit about the out-of-the-box system list views, I can share with you that they are a great place to start and further customize. Process Map has a lot of information available to you on these list views, but let's be honest, more is not always necessarily better. What is better is custom. The user adoption love potion is taking all of the options that Process Map has for you and making it your own by narrowing down the filters, the columns, and the sorting options to what is relevant to your business. So if you haven't already, consider custom list views. If you're an end user on the call, consider what's relevant to you. But if you're a system admin, you can focus on multiple users and possibly personas throughout your business. For example, I have a customer in manufacturing, and they have created multiple list views in their risk assessment module. Each list screen pertains to assessments on a different business line, and they've removed and added columns with applicable information for each. So by creating these multiple list views, their end users are able to navigate quickly between the business lines without having to filter time after time. And by adding the relevant columns and removing others, they give their end users a great snapshot of the valuable information all on one screen. The same customer took it a step further in their list views and chose to sort the list views by residual hazard rating. This allows their users to go in and quickly identify where the most risk is and take actions by priority. This is just one example. The possibilities are endless, as many of the business cases brought forth by our customers. So where do you start? You can navigate to one of your most used list views, any of them really, and just click the edit button that I showed you a few slides back and look through the available sections. So look through filters, look through columns, and the sorting options too. And start to get a little creative. You're not gonna break anything and you're not gonna push anything out to other users automatically. So where do we come in? Well, once you've created some awesome new list views for your personas in your business, loop in your customer success manager and we can help you with the rest. Process Map can help to make sure that those custom views are defaulted to the right personas with your organization. Well, now I'm going to go ahead and send it to Mariska to talk to us about another one of my favorite topics, custom landing pages.
Thank you, Ileana. Give me 1 second. Can you see my screen okay?
Yes, I can.
Awesome. So as Illy mentioned, next up, I'm going to be walking through customizing your own landing or homepage. So your homepage, guys, acts as a central area where you can not only access our modules and our apps within your one screen, but also create shortcuts to accessing data and trends, and also reach out to your entire organization with our broadcast feature. Pretty cool, right? So for most of you on the call, you do know that Process Map has continuously been working on improving our widgets and dashboards, and we've even developed module dashboards and persona-based dashboards, which we've covered at a previous session. So the benefits of customizing your homepage is that as an end user, you get to pick and select the exact type of information you want displayed on your main homepage. And I want to show you guys just how easy it is. So for today's demonstration, I am on my main page, as you can see on my screen here. I first wanted to highlight our out-of-the-box dashboards or system views that have already been created based on specific modules. So from my drop-down at the very top here, as you can see here, Process Map has put in the work so our users wouldn't have to. And thus, we've introduced the audit dashboard, our calendar, our incident management dashboard, and lately, and our newest version of our LMS dashboard or homepage as well. So there are a couple ways to customize your homepage. The first and easiest, in my opinion, is to use our already existing dashboards and just build on it with the required data. So what do I mean? Maybe some of the widgets or data available in your system that exist in your system views already don't quite meet all your requirements. So for the purpose of today, I'm going to click on an IMS dashboard and show you guys what I mean by build on. And by clicking on edit layout at the top right of my screen here in this little blue box, I now have the ability to add widgets or remove them from our existing widget library. So as you can see here, I'm going to scroll down. You have the ability to add these specific widgets. Okay, so by clicking on edit layout, again, I'm going to go ahead and add or remove specific ones. As you can see here, action items has already been added in, which you can see through the green check mark on your left here. So why not have access to any action items that may require your attention as soon as you log into the system, right? So as you can see, there are a variety of data points that we do already have existing. And another super cool widget that I wanted to highlight is, and I'm just going to scroll to my bottom here, is my Insight Quick Links widget as well. So I'm going to go ahead and add that on for the purpose of today, just to show you guys what that looks like. All right. And again, if I wanted to remove specific widgets, I would simply click on remove. And then once I X out of here, any widgets or any new widgets that I add are being sent to the bottom of the screen. So I'm going to scroll all the way down. And as you guys have it here, we have our Insight quick links that I just added on there. Okay, so I also have the ability to customize the way that my widgets look. So all I need to do is, if I wanted to change the size on it, is simply click on the specific widget and either increase or decrease its size depending on my requirements. Okay, from a more design perspective, if I wanted to go ahead and change the position of it on my dashboard, I would simply highlight the widget as is and simply drag and drop to wherever I wanted in my specific landing page. Okay, as you can see, the quick links was already added as part of our default. So we have the ability to add in or access the modules from the quick links, which is pretty self-explanatory. It just acts as an easier way for you to access the modules. So report an observation or an incident, don't mind if I do, directly from your very home page. Okay, so another thing that I wanted to focus on is the ability to copy a widget as well. So if I specifically wanted a widget and I wanted to add or replace a few widgets on the exact same already existing widgets, I would simply click on my ellipsis or my 3 dots at the very top right of my widget. Simply click on copy widget. And if I scroll all the way to the bottom, I have my copied version of that. Okay, so a good example for this will allow you to duplicate your widget, allow you to change your metrics. For example, if you wanted to display your DART rate for 30 days versus 60, we have the ability to change the filters on the individual widgets as well. And to rename it, I can simply go ahead and click on the inside or my text box and make the changes as is. So for the purpose of today, I'm going to call it Mariska's DART rate, and we have it saved as. Okay, so this new recent feature does allow you to have both or as many widgets as you want displayed on your landing page without having to toggle back and forth between filters, and you can simply rename the title of your actual widget. Okay, so I'm going to scroll up to my top here and show you guys what I meant by building on our already existing widgets. So after I'm complete with the designing of my actual homepage, I can add or remove as many widgets as I wanted. If I wanted to save this as my own individual dashboard, for example, I am going to just rename it to whatever I'd want. So say for the purpose of today, I'm going to call it my final dashboard here. Okay, and another, I cannot spell, there we go. And another thing that I wanted to highlight is this little checkbox here. So I know in the past we've reviewed your ability to set up your user and your location and set them up as default preferences so that you're able to log in within that specific user or location preferences into the system. So by simply checking this default view box, and now I'm going to click as save as you can see here, my view is now saved successfully. So what does this mean? I have my dashboard that I renamed to myself after designing and adding the widgets that pertain to my requirements. And now every time I log into the Process Map system, I'm automatically going to be defaulted to my main homepage. Okay, so I don't need to worry about toggling back and forth to retrieve my data. Okay, so again, you guys, this is your view, and it can include as much or as little information as possible as you'd like. All right, give me 1 second. I'm just going to take it back to my PowerPoint now. There we go. Okay, so the next topic that I'm going to be covering are a few troubleshooting tips for user adoption as well. So it's going to include, for the first one, is your browser compatibility. So if you've ever submitted a support ticket, or if you've ever had an end user submit a support ticket, one of the reps is most likely to ask you what specific browser you're on. We want to ensure that it's compatible with the Process Map requirements. And as you can see from my screenshot on the left, we have specific requirements for your web as well as mobile applications as well. Okay, this information is available on your help site, or if you have any questions at all, please feel free to reach out to your CSM. All right, so now let's go and focus to the right of my screen. So how do we ensure that your browser is compatible? A quick little tip, and this is available on the help site as well, is if you select tools from the top of your browser, as I've done here. If you don't see tools, you guys, please press your Alt button on your keyboard and it will appear. You would then select your compatibility view settings. The 3 questions that are displayed at the bottom of the window should not be checked. So if they are, please unselect all of them. And then the window for the added websites also should not contain com or pmapconnect.com. If either of those websites is on the list, please select it by clicking on it once and simply clicking on the remove button as my number 4 is displaying here. Okay, so once you click on remove, if you click on close, the browser would automatically refresh with the new settings and you are all set. So again, you guys, if you have any questions on the guide or your browser compatibility in general, please feel free to reach out to your CSM for any additional information, or you can access it all on your help site. Okay, the other thing that I now want to focus on is your user browser details. So there's a way within the Process Map system to ensure that you are compatible with our requirements. And there's a way to kind of track your login history within the Process Map system as well. So from my 2 screenshots here, let's focus on the first one. We're going to click on Setup. We're just going to follow through with my little breadcrumbs at the top, System Setup, and User Browser Details. Okay, this will allow you, along with your username, as you can see, I was the most recent logged in, and it also provides you details as to what browser you are utilizing at the time. So if you ever have questions in terms of if you're unsure of what browser you're using, or if you just are unsure of what page you're at, you would be able to access it via our system setup. Another super cool feature that we can find, and again, I'm going to walk through our little breadcrumbs here. So setup, system setup, and your user login history. These system statistics allow you to display your username and log in to the system, as well as your overall session time in the actual system. Okay, so as you can see, this is our generic site. These are all the users that have been logged in over the last little bit. And you do have the ability by selecting on the edit button here to adjust your filters or your timelines. So you can really drill down on the user login for a specific time period along with its overall time. Okay, so the next thing that I wanted to touch on is your scope and permissions. So scope is essentially what you have access to in the system. Permissions is basically what you can do in the system. So as system admins, have you ever gotten an email saying that your users maybe can't report an incident, maybe they have specific buttons missing? This is essentially the first place that you would look is your scope and permissions. So first, how would we assign or are able to view the scope that certain users have? By clicking on Setup, Security, and Users. Again, from my little breadcrumbs at the top, we now have access to our Scope tab. So by clicking on the Edit button first, we have now the ability to select our desired location. And if you click on Save After, that specific user is now granted scope or permissions, or a scope is in access to specific locations that you've now granted them for. Keep in mind though, guys, so anything that you see with this little plus sign, if you highlight it at the very top and then you click Save, your scope is applied to all the locations that are under this specific level. Okay, so if you wanted to drill down further, just click on your plus sign, select individual locations, or you have the ability to add it all by a specific level or your organizational tree structure as well. Okay, so that is a fun fact. So by selecting the whole level and click on hitting save, it will apply to all your scope permissions. So similar to how we added scope on the right of my screen here, if we wanted to set up permissions, for example, differently for different locations, for different apps, we are able to do so from the same screen here. So again, within my user profile, I'm going to click on Application Permissions. Okay, and by selecting that, similar to how we added scope, if I wanted my specific roles that have been created through my role configuration, I can either highlight it by location or by level. And once I click save, that specific role will apply to all my locations under that level. Another quick fun fact is just a little reminder is if this little help icon is assigned to each of your roles, by clicking on it, it will take you, or you're able to see in another screen, the specific permissions that have been assigned to that role. So keep in mind, guys, this will only allow you to view the permissions. If you need to make changes to your overall role configurations, that needs to be done through your setup. So this will only allow you to access it. Okay, so again, anything in terms of changing permissions that would need to be done through your backend or through your system setup. Okay, the next little tip that I wanted to cover is in terms of user management is if you've forgotten or your password or you're a new user to the system. So as system administrators, this is another super common functional or super common question that you're going to get from your users is that if they've either they need a new setup for new users or they've just forgotten their password and need a reset. So again, by following through my breadcrumbs here, I would go through setup, security, go to my users, and as we can see here, I pulled up my specific user profile here. And by simply checking the box beside my name, and keep in mind you can check multiple users at a time, I would simply select send welcome email or reset password depending on the nature of your inquiry. Okay, so for send welcome email for new users, this is essentially a screenshot of what your main of what the email you're going to receive as. So keep in mind there are two separate ways to access it. If you're accessing it through your desktop, we do have a link that will direct you to set up your password, or a separate link for when you're accessing it via mobile as well. Okay, it does provide you with the temporary password, and then you would have the ability to change it or alter it once you log into the system. Similar to how we selected our welcome email, if we wanted to reset our password, we would simply highlight the name or user profile, click on reset password, and then this is an email. This is a screenshot of an example of an email that you would receive. So again, do keep in mind, you guys, that it is a different link to access it or set it up from your desktop and your mobile version as well. And I just also wanted to mention for single sign-on users as well, if your site is or your organization is using single sign-on, any password resets or password questions in general should be handled through your IT or through your network. So if you have any questions at all about getting or resetting your password, please reach out to your system administrator for help. And I'm now going to turn this over to Ileana to focus on, to highlight some key takeaways on troubleshooting that we just reviewed.
All right. So Mariska already showed us how to solve these issues in the system. We wanted to provide the next couple of slides as a takeaway for our system admins to reference because we love a quick tip sheet. So on this slide, we have 3 commonly reported issues that can all be fixed only by users with system admin permissions. Hence, who you're going to call? Your system admin. Of course, we're still here to help, but we also aim to empower our system administrators to tackle these obstacles because it allows for quicker turnaround time on user-reported issues. We often hear of users who aren't able to see a module or perhaps aren't able to complete an action like delete. If the system administrator can see the module or has the capability, then it's likely that the culprit is the user permissions, which Mariska just walked us through managing. There are also times where a user may not be able to log in. So if your enterprise has single sign-on, it is common that IT has something to do with the issue. So it's important to contact your company IT first to ensure the intranet is working before going further to reset a password or further troubleshoot. And for our other customers, there's also the forgot password link on the login screen that can always assist with password issues. We also wanted to provide our listeners with a tip sheet on what to do if the issues you experience are such as what some of my customers would call the endless wheel of death, or some, and I see him on here. So some of the others on here, a feed not processing or an insight report not displaying data. So who are you going to call here? So for these 3 examples, you will leverage process map support to get to the bottom of the solution. However, by first providing as much information as possible and doing some of your own troubleshooting prior to submitting a ticket, if you're a system admin, you can decrease turnaround time for resolving any reported issues. So side note, never underestimate the power of a full screenshot. By troubleshooting prior to submitting the ticket, you may find that at times you might be able to resolve the issue without even having to submit the ticket itself. And with that, we will go ahead and take some questions.
Okay, I'm gonna go ahead and just do some quick housekeeping items as we are preparing for our 21.1 release. So just want to remind everybody here the dates, the key dates on this particular release. Hopefully you're able to see my screen. Currently, we are under UAT, so if you haven't had the opportunity to start to get to know the new features that are coming in the upcoming release, please do take the time to work with your customer success managers. They'll be more than happy to demonstrate those features or answer any questions that you may have related to those features. Also, they will be working with you if we have any features in the release that what we call our configuration settings, where they are either you can turn them on or turn them off customer by customer. So work with your CSMs on when is the right time for you to leverage that feature if you are interested in it. They can turn that on and work with you on turning that on. You should be able to access the feature release site if you'd like to just simply walk through those features on your own to get a better understanding of what is coming. And our actual live release is currently scheduled for March 22nd. And as a reminder, you can find all information related to the modules as well as the release notes directly in your help site. So in every application, you have a little question mark icon in the right-hand corner of the screen. And then there you can see there is a hot link to the Process Map help site. This will bring you directly into this page here where you can find all your information related to the modules. The key one that I would like to demonstrate or highlight is the release notes. So before any release and before we go into UAT for any release, we do publish those notes available to you. They'll talk about what are the features that are coming in there and how those features have been designed. Just to highlight, there are 7 different modules that we are touching and bringing in new features. As many of you folks know, App Builder is a big driver for Process Map and a huge focus area for us, similar to the widgets and bringing everything in a one-stop shop. It's about giving flexibility back to the customer to digitalize any forms that they have at the plant into an online solution and giving them that flexibility to be able to do those things without having to come to Process Map. Some key items that are big wins that we have coming in this upcoming release. One is now we are working on pushing information from our modules directly to apps. So one of the big ones is the ability for documents management to push some key attributes related to the document into a actual app, which will then allow for the users to access those apps via a mobile device. Another key feature that is coming with the audits management module is the ability to now be able to track additional information as it relates to the audit itself. So if a contractor is involved in the audits or there are any other third parties or you're doing audits where there are a group of individuals working on the audits, you can now be able to pull that information in. We also have a lot of work coming for our customers that are with leveraging Process Max training management or LMS management module to make it more user-friendly, seamless to the end user. A big one that we have is being able to launch your actual courses directly from a notification. So your end user has been scheduled for training. They get a notification, then there's an actual hot link there that can take them to updating their outcomes, or even launching their courses if you have the LMS integration available in your system. For occupational health, we're looking at the ability to be able to create encounters without having to do appointments. In today's state in our occupational health module, if you are seeing a patient and you are managing the information related to that individual, it does require you to create a appointment. So this is now really eliminating that need and allowing for medical professionals to service any individuals who just simply walk up to the clinic. Another big one that we have that is coming is the ability to print employee medical records. So you have a one-stop shop where you can now print all the information related to a particular employee and all the different encounters that have occurred over the time that employee has been with the organization. So this will help if your employee is requesting their medical records, or if you have any litigations that are going on and you need to supply that information to the corresponding parties. You have a one-stop shop of pulling that information. So I just wanted to highlight, we'll do a deeper dive in our next month's tips and tricks into each one of these features so that you can get more familiar with it, but get with your CSMs. They can show you where the features are, take the time to review your release notes, and then if there's any feedback or any additional suggestions, make sure that your CSM managers are provided with that information. Are there any questions?
I did see a question come through by Melissa on your setting up your default view for several users. So I just wanted to highlight it really quickly in the system. So when you're on your main screen, by clicking on Edit Layout, you do have the ability to share your view. So whatever view that you create or develop within your home page, you have the ability now to share it with specific levels or locations, with specific users, with specific roles, or any groups that you might have created in the system as well. At the very top, if you just check this all global users box, it will be shared for all Process Map users as part of your organization. The only caveat is to keep in mind is that for your default view to be set up for all users to be directed to your default landing page, this would need to be done through a technical request. So if you do have need the ability to share your specific view or set it up as a default view for users, please reach out to your CSM and we can definitely help with the technical assist portion.
Great. There's some questions in the chat that we have. One question is that, can we do inspections on particular assets of the system? We do have an app that is available. It's called the Assets Registry app. And what the app will do is capture all the key information as it relates to the asset itself. And once the Assets app has all of the assets loaded into it, you do have the ability to conduct an audit and select from that assets list when conducting an audit. There is a setting associated with it. It is already released, so if you're not seeing that, please work with your customer success manager on when's the right time to bring that information in. It does require upfront setup, of course, because we have to get all your assets loaded. Once you have your assets loaded, then you're able to leverage that feature and be able to conduct inspections based on the asset you're doing the inspection on. This can be done both via desktop as well as mobile. We have that feature being built out not only in audits, but is also available in tasks. So if you're leveraging the task management module as a way to remind folks to actually do the inspection versus, let's say, audit, you may be leveraging it with all the items that are that they need to check while doing the inspection, or you could be using tasks just to remind folks that they need to do it. So in the task management module as well, you're able to link specific tasks to the assets. And then I believe in our upcoming roadmap, we'll be able to link assets to incidents. So an incident occurs and it was due to a piece of machinery. It was determined that due to a piece of machinery, that's what actually caused the injury. Now you will be able to link those assets directly to the particular incident. What else we had? We had questions related to when permits module will be on the roadmap for widgets. It is on the roadmap. We'll follow up with the project management team on when specifically those widgets would be delivered. There was another question around being able to give an admin the ability to create their own default views. And push those default views out, or be able to define default views and what default views are available for each of the different types of personas. Today, Process Map can do that on your behalf. So you can sit with your customer success manager, go through it, as Mariska has shown. It's super simple. You can create a persona literally in 5 minutes. That could probably save lots and lots of times to the end user who's in that persona, whether that's adding quick links that take them to, reporting a near miss, or closing out an investigation, or giving them or providing transparency on how their facility is performing on key metrics. You can design that out, what that looks like, and then Process Map can use attributes of the user profiles to be able to push that view to those individuals, so that when they log into the application, that's what the system defaults to. We can look at roles. We can say anyone who has the incident manager user role should get this default view, and we go ahead and push that out to those users. So when the next time they log into the system, they can go ahead and leverage that view, and it's seamless to them, because that's exactly, that's where they land. And then they could just benefit from all the great information that you're providing to them without them having to navigate into and going into other areas of the application. There was a question if there's anything on the roadmap as it relates to being able to allow an admin to do that. Currently, we don't have that, only because it does, require some pushing, and we don't want to provide those types of controls during business hours. We don't want to impact the end user where we're pushing information during a time when they're trying to complete work in the application. So that's why we like to keep it controlled with Process Map. But we'll be more than happy to do that on your behalf. As Eliana mentioned, not only can we do that on the home page, we can also do that for you for all of your list views. So and each list view can be unique to the module. So you can say, hey, Process Map, here's a view that I want for all of my users of the system when they first log in for incident management. And yet you can create another one for risk assessment. And designing the view is very simple. It literally takes a matter of minutes. Once you have that view saved and we know which view you want us to push, we just simply put that into our technical team's backlog, and they go ahead and execute that for you. I don't think we had any other questions. I'm not seeing any other questions in the chat here. There was one, and maybe McCarthy, I'm not sure, I'm just seeing the last name here, 226. You mentioned you've never seen that screen that you're showing. Which screen were you referring to? Okay, if you have further questions, again, just please reach out to your customer success manager, and we're here to help. I'd like to thank everybody for today for participating, and have a wonderful day. Bye-bye.
Thank you. Have a good day.
Thank you, everyone.
Thanks, everyone.